quickly on metal and steel stocks that have done well. JSW is in the news.
That's right. So I think the kind of buying action we saw in metals yesterday could have been on the back of Tata Steel looking at making that investment in UK, and that would have led to stocks rallying. But this morning when markets opened, there seemed to have been some profit booking when it comes specifically to the metal index. The metal index was down about 0.5% or so in the red this morning. But yeah, the news coming from the JSW group is particularly important and exciting.
Okay.
I think it's putting to rest the speculations and the source-based news that was driving the JSW stock and news triggers in the last 1 week or so. In fact, more than that, maybe, the story started about a month back when there were these first rumors of JSW wanting to pick up stake in MG Motors, and that in a way signaled the foray of JSW into the electric vehicle and the automobile industry. And
absolutely.
That news is now getting more and more cemented. In fact, last week we also heard news of JSW wanting to buy the Ford Chennai plant, which has been shut down ever since Ford exited India. So I think it's fairly clear and fairly certain now that JSW as a group wants to get into the automobile space, and within that, a narrow focus on the EV space.
And it made some organic sense as well for a company that's been in the metals business for a while, an essential component into making automobile. It made absolute sense.
From a manufacturing process, it's a very classic case of forward integration. We've seen that with Tata Group as well. Tata Steel followed by Tata Motors. So at least your part of your input cost is taken care of, and you're not really paying a premium to importing or to sort of sourcing these raw materials that go into making the automobile or the car itself. Now, specifically on the JSW part, I think JSW now with this stake purchase in MG Motors, there are chances that this final decision on the acquisition of some sort of stake should materialize by the end of 2 months or so. Around Diwali is what is expected for the JSW MG Motors deal to go through. And if that doesn't go through, newspaper stories this morning also indicate that there is a plan B for JSW. And the plan B could be actually purchasing stake in a Chinese automobile company. Now, what's not mentioned in the report, but what seems to be a calculated guess that I would like to make is that we could be talking about BYD, because BYD has been looking at Indian partners. It has faced resistance from the government of India
and continues to face resistance.
And hence selling cars which are pretty much imported in more than a semi-knocked down SKD format will not be acceptable by India. So BYD seems like a plan B for JSW right now. But yeah, JSW foraying into the automobile space, EV space, seems more of a certainty than speculation now.
And more competition, therefore, for EV makers in India with JSW now. We don't know the plans just as yet, but the acquisition likely to be completed by Diwali, which is in October this year, October or November this year. As usual, let's get in our guest, Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services, joining us this morning. Gaurang, thanks very much for taking time out. We've moved a little away from markets, but markets there opening in the green. What are the broad indicators, parameters, trends that you're tracking this Tuesday morning?
Thank you, and morning to all of you all, Shweta. So we've spent almost a month in the consolidation zone of 19,200, 300 on the lower side, 19,500, 600 being the higher level and a top heavy feeling wherein you see profit booking coming in. But since last week, Friday, that was the first day of the September expiry, and the rollover numbers that we saw, continued strength yesterday and today a follow-up. We put out our market view for the week yesterday, and we had possibly given a view on the market that if we are able to take off 19,600 decisively on the Nifty spot and give a close above that, then I think a rally towards the all-time high and a new high altogether will definitely be a reality, and it will come sooner rather than later. On the other side, well, it's good to see the rally and an all-time high on the mid-cap index. Small cap has also rallied, but along with that, a word of caution that in the small cap universe, you need to be extremely careful. And I think that consolidation that we had for the entire month of August in that zone that I just mentioned is possibly supportive to take us at a little bit more elevated level from here on. But for that to happen, Shweta, I think we have to close above 19,600 decisively, and possibly then you will see a follow-up.
Hi, good morning, Gaurang. Nice to have you back on the show. We were discussing JSW just as you were joining, and now a more affirmative sort of action coming from JSW on account of a more probability of certainty around JSW getting into the automobile space and more specifically into the EV space. What does this tell us about JSW?
Well, morning to you as well, Kartik. So I think more the merrier, and the race towards possibly the government statements that we also heard that India is likely to become a large manufacturing hub as far as automobile and automobile ancillary and tire manufacturing companies along with OEMs are concerned. This will only be achievable if we have more number of players coming in. And of course, policies getting more clearer for the EV segment. It's good to see that a new entrant is wanting to come in, possibly a little bit late, but better late than never, Kartik. And my sense is that as we get more details or fine prints about this entire venture into the EV or automobile segment, I think it will be much more clearer in terms of who they want to partner with, whether it is going to be a name which is already present in India or whether they want to sign with a Chinese counterpart. But more importantly, I think how it is going to come into India, whether it is going to be a completely knockdown kit or a semi knockdown kit, which will be assembled over here in case if it's a joint venture with an overseas partner, or whether they are really looking at a more, manufacturing base being set up. I think the sooner we have clarity, it will be better. But yeah, it's good to see more number of players coming.
Gaurang, how do markets and retail investors as well as institutional investors for that matter see a diversification of this kind? JSW not traditionally known to be an auto brand, and of course for the EV sector, for the auto sector, it is good news that there is more competition by way of a new entrant, a new player coming in. But by way of how markets perceive it, we saw JSW Steel down almost 1% in early trade this morning. Why do you think there is resistance on a move like this from JSW?
Well, so I think the short-term concerns, Kartik, will always remain when there is no clarity in terms of what is going to be the blueprint, what is going to be the valuation, how much of it will JSW need to shell out in terms of a takeover, or if they get into a JV with a foreign partner. And not to forget, I think one of the best performing stocks in the entire metal universe, if I'm not mistaken, Kartik, was JSW Steel because it had rallied to a great extent. And these kind of news always play a little bit of knee-jerk reaction on the counter from an immediate short to medium-term point of view, unless and until you have clarity about the entire deal. So it's just a knee-jerk reaction. Let me give a disclosure here, since we are talking about JSW Steel. We do have a positive call on the fundamental side on JSW Steel.